so that was the good part about it.
Gradually, a new generation of Yorkshire stars emerged, including two superb bowlers, Bob Appleyard and Johnny Wardle. Bob Appleyard's entry into cricket in 1951 was as sensational as Verity's before him, taking 200 wickets in his first full season.
I experimented more and more with the off-spin until I found I was blistering here. And rather than not continue practicing, I tried off the middle finger. So I was able to, and I soon found that I could bowl off this finger almost at full pace with quite a good degree of control, which was something I just learnt. I mean, it was an accident, and by continuing experimenting, from that February to the May time, I was able to do it with all the confidence in the world. So that year, when I took those wickets, I bowled off that finger, off the middle finger, at quite a good pace.
Without a doubt, one of the greatest bowlers of all time. And I was fortunate enough to be one of the close-in fielders to him, and in the 51 season, I took the record number of catches in that year, mostly off bat and pad, bowled by Bob Appleyard.
Johnny Wardle from Ardsley was a high-class bowler with a volatile temper who worked for a time in the Hickleton Main colliery. He was yet another in the long line of slow left-arm Yorkshire bowlers who went on to play for England. He took 1,846 wickets during his career at an average of 18.97. Sadly, dressing room arguments led to Wardle being sacked in 1958 when he was at his prime.
Johnny was a wonderful, wonderful bowler, but I could see his point. He knew there was a young lad snapping at his heels, and I suppose I was snapping at his heels. I don't think I'd ever be good enough, and I don't think I can be sort of named in his boots or anything like that. But Johnny didn't really give me a great deal of help.
I remember talking to Johnny Wardle for an hour on the game of cricket, and I learnt more in an hour than I've done in a lifetime in the game. He knew the game inside out, did Johnny Wardle.
Johnny, he got better and better and better as time went by, because not only did he bowl his orthodox left-arm stuff very well, but then he developed his left-arm funny stuff, you know, his Chinaman and googly, which meant that he could bowl on any type of wicket in those days. And in the, I think it was the South African tour, when he was so successful, which was almost the last series he played in. And he was a better bowler then than at any time in his career, and sadly, Yorkshire lost him at that time.
The loss of Wardle can be seen as the start of Yorkshire's post-war troubles. Seen here with Wardle is Willie Watson, the football and cricket international. Watson was a graceful left-hander from Huddersfield. And he is best remembered for his rearguard partnership with Trevor Bailey at Lord's in 1953, when he scored 109 in his first Test match, denying Australia a certain victory. In the 50s, Yorkshire was still producing a string of outstanding cricketers. Freddie Truman, a miner working at Maltby, first played for Yorkshire in 1949 as a lad of 18. He played for the county for the next 20 years, taking 2,304 wickets for Yorkshire and England, the finest fast bowler Yorkshire have ever had. He was the first cricketer to take 300 wickets in Test cricket.
That's it, he's on! Truman's got it, 300 Test wickets. And the batsman, the first to applaud him. And he's just patrolling the crowd. Well caught, Colin.
But the world gathered round to say, well done, Fred.
You really think you were going to do this 300 business?
No, not really, and I was getting a bit worried even when I was in this match, you know, nothing seemed to be happening, and all of a sudden it came with a rush, you know. It took me by surprise.
Do you think anyone else will ever do it?
I don't know. There's one thing, if I do, I'll be tired when they're finished.
He was one of the few fast bowlers, and I'm genuinely quick, who could bowl leg and middle, make the ball swing out. Not many could do that. He could turn the batsman round. There'd been very, very few. Lindwall was another. But very, very few who could do what Truman did at his best.
Just being a fast bowler, a lot of his runs went behind the wicket, off edges, through the slips, or between third slip, second slip and gully, and down to fine leg, you know. And if sort of wickets weren't forthcoming, I can remember one of his famous, you know, he says he'd turn around and glare at the batsman and look down at him and say, "You're more edges than a Brocken piss pot."
There was no more spectacular entry into cricket than that of Brian Close. In 1949, at the age of 18, he became the youngest cricketer ever to play cricket for England. And in the same year, he also became the youngest player to achieve the double. Close was to go on to become Yorkshire's third most successful captain. He took over from Vic Wilson, seen here with Frank Lowson. Wilson won the championship in 1960 as the first professional captain since Emmett in 1882. Wilson's side included Jimmy Binks, the wicketkeeper, now a successful businessman in Southern California.
He was an unbelievable wicketkeeper. And the fact that he could stand up to me was, in itself, was a compliment to his wicket-keeping. But I don't think there's many wicket-keepers today that would stand up. Standing back to bowlers of half my pace today, whereas Binks could come and stand up. And of course it brought into the game then, it brought a different element as far as the batsman was concerned. When the wicket-keeper stood up, it brought a different element to the way he played and the way I bowled as well.
Other regular members of Wilson's side included the slow left-arm bowler Don Wilson, batsmen Stott and Taylor, Phil Sharp, Doug Paget, now the Yorkshire coach, and one Dickie Bird, a young batsman who went on to become the most respected umpire in international cricket. The Close team that won the championship 4 times in the 60s included some new faces. John Hampshire, Tony Nicholson, and the son of Len Hutton, Richard, who also played for England. The successes of the 60s were in no small measure due to Close's brave leadership.
Brian was you know, you talk about Brian Close, he was a chap that was fearless. And if a captain's fearless, then he makes you feel, well, 10,000 times better than you really are. I mean, he'd always be stood, what, a yard away from the bat. Now, I was absolutely terrified he was getting killed. He never made it that way. He made me feel as though, yeah, I'm going to stand here because you're a great bowler.
Brian always led from example because Brian was such a natural, gifted player that whatever he asked you to do, you knew very well that he could do it. And I think that was the inspiration that he sort of put over to all of us, and we're all able to fight for him.
We'd find somehow how to take a wicket when we'd no right to.
Yeah.
That's all about what playing cricket is.
That's right.
You know, when 2 batsmen are so well set and there's nobody even look like shifting them or even troubling them, but by switching things around, mixing things up, slight distraction, even movement of a fielder. Suddenly he's been in ages, everything's going fine, and suddenly you bring a few fielders up round him and he thinks, oh, what reason are these here for? So you upset his concentration.
Yorkshire also achieved success in the first of the new one-day competitions, winning the Gillette Cup in 1965 and 69. The 65 game was the one in which Close gave Boycott a few words of encouragement.
There was no point in taking stupid risks to start with, but I says, when I call for a run, because he wasn't the most secure run caller or judger of a run, when I call you run, rely on me. So we started taking 4 or 5 singles and over. And the Surrey lads got a bit upset a few overs later. I says, now they're all creeping in because we've been, you know. I said, if one comes up, for heaven's sake, hit it. I says, this fella's just ideal to hit it through the covers, you know. Sure enough, they pitched it up because of it being a soft wicket. He belted it through the covers. And then they brought an off-spinner on a little later, and well, of course, I mean, if you'd ever seen Boyks play off-spinners, he just patted them back. So they bowled half volleys, and sure enough, Pocock came on bowl, and I went up before and said, now then, this fella's expecting you to just push them back. I said, if you do that, I said, I'll wrap this bat round you up. I said, hit him anywhere from long on to square leg. First ball comes up, bang, over the top. And he went on, you know, to keep sort of cajoling him and making him go. And he played magnificently. Unfortunately, he never played like that again.
Close followed these Yorkshire triumphs by emulating Hutton and becoming a successful professional captain of England, using his bravery to combat the West Indies bowling. Yorkshire's successes of the 1960s had done much to repair the poor dressing room morale of the 50s. This newfound harmony was significantly threatened when Raymond Illingworth left Yorkshire to join Leicestershire in 1968.
Brian Close came in the dressing room one day, I can remember it quite clearly, and he said, we're going to have another problem soon, and all the lads were having to guess what it was, and after it finished, he said, well, I can tell you what it is. And he says, yes, what it is? I said, they wanted to play Jeff Cope in place of myself. And Close said, yes, you're right. And I said, well, I'm not prepared to keep on playing here unless I get a contract. Because up to then, we never had contracts. And what I said was, I was 36 at the time. I had 135 wickets that year, which was more than anybody else in the country. I said, I'm prepared to sign a 3-year contract and stay. If you don't use me for the full 3 years, you can always use me in a coaching capacity, which I was also doing at that time, helping Arthur Mitchell. I said, so you get your 3 years' money's worth if that's what worries you. Unfortunately, the thing went to Brian Sellers. He made a decision on his own that they weren't prepared to give contracts, and that's how I finished up leaving. Probably the wisest decision I ever made.
Born in Pudsey, Raymond Illingworth moved to Farsley, where he was playing in the Bradford League when he was 16.
It was the old Priestley Cup, which in them days was played to a finish, timeless. In fact, we sat on the Saturday and played every night during the week. Glorious weather, 80 degrees every day, and ground absolutely packed. The people going straight from work, you couldn't get in the ground. 2,500 people in. I was looking to make 148 not out. In fact, I always remember because I was 16 when I started batting and 17 when I finished. And not many people can remember things like that. And we made just about 400, I think 394, and I think Pudsey got about 300. And I say the game went on all week, tremendous game. And that was the great thing about the Priestley Cup in those days, that it was timeless and it allowed young players a chance to develop, where everything now is hit, bang, wallop, you know, finish as quick as you can, 50 overs. And I think that's the greatest mistake that they've made in league cricket.
Illingworth is one of a number of people worried that the present league system is not producing international cricketers with the conveyor belt regularity it once did.
We would like the leagues to play a different type of cricket, to play a longer type of cricket instead of this 50 overs each. But it's difficult for us to change them.
We've got to get the leagues doing the right thing. We're not producing the players through the leagues that we used to produce 30, 40 years ago. And that's because of the type of cricket they're playing, the length of time they're playing. I would like to see 120, 130 overs played over a Saturday. Then I think we'll be on the right step, in the right direction to produce cricketers for Yorkshire again. And it's only through those lines and those type of things that will Yorkshire become good again.
Illingworth's all-round skills, combined with his keen tactical brain, made him a truly great cricketer.
Ray Illingworth was the outstanding cricketer in the side, not only bowling and batting. He was a man who you could turn to on any occasion. If you wanted an extra performance from someone, invariably it came from him. And to me, he was the outstanding individual in the side. A great help to me.
Illingworth was appointed England's third professional Yorkshire captain and regained the Ashes in Australia in the controversial 1970-71 series. He went on to produce many fine performances for England, including this century at Old Trafford against India in 1971. Illingworth's departure from Yorkshire was followed by the equally controversial dismissal of Brian Close in 1970.
The chairman, Brian Sellers, was a tough nut, of course, with a lot of cricket experience pre-war. And I went in there not thinking anything other than, well, what we're going to talk about. And of course, the first words that came out of the chairman's mouth was, well, you've had a good innings. And suddenly I froze. And it was as if all my life had fallen apart.
Everyone there knew what was at stake, the biggest test of strength that any county cricket committee has ever had to face. The Yorkshire Committee, and especially Chairman Brian Sellers, faced the angry criticism of Action Group members, furious about the treatment of ex-skipper Brian Close. Sir William Worsley, the president, gave the club's reasons for the sacking.
In their light, well, that number of matches which Close has been compelled to miss through injuries during the past 2 years, the committee just didn't feel justified in appointing a captain who might well miss a significant number of matches through lack of fitness. And it was only after weighing these and other possibly less tangible factors that the committee came reluctantly, but unanimously, to the conclusion that a change must be made.
Action Group leader Jack Mewis spearheaded the attack. He said his members had never disputed the need for Brian Close to be dismissed.
After all, he's 39 years of age, nearly 40, and anybody knows he's coming to the end of his playing days.
That's my opinion, and if I'd have been the boss here, I'd have sacked him. All right, I'll go.
Close went on to play successfully for Somerset in England. Seen here facing Arthur Robinson, Close scored a century for his new county at Bramall Lane.
If you call this cricket, go and play somewhere else.
This was not long before Bramall Lane was finally closed to cricket on the 7th of August 1973, becoming the exclusive home of Sheffield United Football Club.
The one I liked best, of course, was Bradford Park Avenue. It was the nearest my home, and it's not too big. It was a sort of ground that encouraged you to go for a six. And you could throw to the wickets from all parts of the field. In many ways, I felt Bradford Park Avenue was the ideal size.
Bradford Park Avenue, the favourite ground for many Yorkshire cricketers, sadly also closed its gate to county cricket in 1985. The Yorkshire grounds and spectators have always had a special quality, and there is no more exciting an arena than Headingley on big match days.
It's a great sight, a great atmosphere, and it's charged with emotion when there's a big crowd at Headingley.
Really try all the time. They respect talent and ability, and nearly all the great players of Yorkshire cricket have always had a little special nice spot in the hearts of the members and supporters. I mean, from Wilfred Rhodes, George Herbert Hurst, Herbert Sutcliffe, so many of them, but Leonard Hutton. But I think it's the fact that you try all the time, you dress quite nicely, and you perform. They like people to go out there and give them 100% all the time.
I think for Test match cricket, I don't think there's any doubts about it. Test match cricket priority has to be 5 days. I don't think we've got to start looking around about who we would like to win or who we'd like to lose or what's the thing. The thing is that we produce cricket wickets that will last 5 days, because that is the paramount importance on that one. For county cricket wickets, I think the county cricket wicket has to have a little bit more in it. I think you've got to have county cricket wickets where the game is interesting. I'm not saying that the balance favours the ball, but you've got to keep the bowlers interested enough to make the contest a good contest between bat and ball. Probably produce wickets where good bowlers, good batsmen will shine. For the one-day cricket, I believe you've got to produce wickets where the ball probably is hit to every part of the ground.
To succeed Close, Geoffrey Boycott was appointed captain of Yorkshire in 1971. Born in 1940 in Fitzwilliam, the son of a miner, Boycott played for Barnsley first team at 15 and first played for Yorkshire in 1962. As a young man, he was an intense and dedicated student of the game with an almost impenetrable defence.
Mrs. Boycott, can you remember when Jeff started playing cricket?
Can I remember? Yes, when you were about 8 or 9 years old.
Whereabouts did he play?
Out in the backyard. Dustbin for the wickets. Me and my sister bawling at him.
And so he was always a batsman, was he?
Oh, yes. Yes, he loved batting.
How good was he? I mean, were there any boys around here who were in fact better than him?
No, I wouldn't say so, because they used to bawl at him. And then they couldn't get him out. They were fed up, you see, they used to go home. That's what used to happen with Tony. That's his middle brother. He used to go and play with him, but they couldn't get him out. So, of course, he used to come home and he wouldn't field out, wouldn't Tony?
Did he have any heroes who were in the Yorkshire team at that
Yes,
time?
Len Hutton. Oh, yes. Yes, Len Hutton. He used to go to the test matches.
Like Len Hutton, Boycott had a remarkable record as a batsman. 48,426 runs, 151 centuries, including this 100th 100 at Headingley against Australia.
That's it. That's a half volley through mid-on for 4. The bat goes in the air. The England players come out to applaud what really has got to be a moment here of cricket history. Geoffrey Boycott, 100 hundreds and the place to get it in the middle of a test match against Australia on his home ground at Headingley.
If I'd have chosen any place in the world, I'd have chosen Headingley. Because, I mean, of the crowd, I should think that 99% of them were Yorkshiremen. And, I mean, if you asked them at the time, which friends did, they all came along that day on a nice sunny day like this, almost certain that I'd get 100. Well, they were certain, but I wasn't. But they had that much confidence and faith in me, and it was nice to repay them with a very satisfying performance.
Boycott took command of Yorkshire at a difficult time. The Close team had broken up and other counties had begun the wholesale signing of overseas professionals. Yorkshire, by refusing to recruit from outside the county, were always at a disadvantage.
You don't think this bodes ill, in other words?
Well, you may think so. What I think, I'll keep to myself.
Well, what is going to happen? What are you going to produce for us when the injuries are settled? Are you going to find new players or young players?
Well, I said at the Yorkshire luncheon, the annual speech I gave, that Yorkshire has lost a lot of cricketers over the last 2 years. They've lost 4 great players in Close, Truman, Illingworth and Jimmy Binks, and they'll have to find some young new players. Well, we're trying to do this. Already we've had 4 young players playing in this match: Bairstow, Michael Bohr, John Woodford and Andrew Dalton. And one of the young players, Richard Lunn, was 12th man.
Young Yorkshire cricketers no longer had a uniform introduction to the first-class game. They had to adapt to 3 or 4 different types of cricket within the season. Yorkshire's problems, a number of their players developed as England cricketers, none with more success than Chris Old.
And he's gone. David Bairstow, a Yorkshire combination with Chris Old. That's a good hit.
Under Boycott, Yorkshire had the most barren championship record in their history. Lack of success brought criticism upon the committee and the captain and unrest throughout the White Rose ridings. A serious split centred around the controversial figure of Geoffrey Boycott. In 1979, the committee relieved Boycott of the captaincy, which heralded a time of great upheaval within the club.
The honour was marvellous when they asked me, but the hassle that surrounded it was eminently forgettable. And it was a few years in my cricket career that I don't even wish to remember. Well, the family got a lot of hassle, yes, which was quite unnecessary. But it's one of those things, it's water under the bridge now, and Yorkshire's carried on, as they always will.
Illingworth was brought back from Leicestershire to be manager and later took over as captain. He gave the Yorkshire supporters a minor fillip by winning the John Player League in 1983.
Thomas Hartley yn I dal i'n dda. Sgwar, ag i'r rhain, y tymor hwn. A dyna I rydiadau cyntaf drwy'r cyfar. Y prynhawn yma.
Yorkshire cricket has been in the doldrums for a number of years now, Ray. Do you think this might herald the start of a new upswing?
Well, it won't do any harm, and it may do a bit of good. I hope so, Peter, certainly, sincerely.
Despite this triumph, the factions within the club continued to fight amongst themselves. When the committee attempted to sack Boycott, they were overturned by members of the 1984 group.
We shall have a lot of bickering. It will cost us £30,000, which was quite predictable when the club gave us this great provocation on the 18th of October. It was a stupid decision, and it took the honour and dignity away from Geoffrey Boycott.
Raymond Illingworth be removed as cricket manager?
Things, because of the boycott affair and one thing or another, had blown up. The club was split, the committee was split, the members were split. And I don't think it was conducive to ever being successful. We didn't do badly. I felt we were making steps in the right direction. We won the Sunday League, and I felt we were beginning to come forward. But unfortunately, there were quite a few people who are now on the committee who were very, very anti-me and wrote letters to the Yorkshire Post every day, criticising you, which isn't nice, particularly people I've never met. And I think the wife said to me at the finish, the day you come home from Yorkshire and tell me finish will be the happiest day of my life. She'd never, ever interfered in my life as a professional cricketer. But I think those were probably true words.
It wasn't until an alliance of Viscount Mountgarrett as president, Brian Walsh as chairman, and Brian Close as cricket chairman that the club had a government acceptable to the majority. The new captain was David Bairstow, who led the side with great enthusiasm for 3 years.
It's probably the most important thing that's ever happened to me in the whole of my cricket career. Yorkshire is undoubtedly the most talked about and most prestigious club in any of the cricket areas anywhere around the world. And to be given the opportunity to captain such a great side is a tremendous honour.
Throughout all the upheavals, Boycott continued to do what he is best at, scoring runs and breaking records.
The historic moment took some time coming. He batted right through the morning session to add 40 to start the afternoon on 98, just 2 short of that elusive 149th first-class ton. A single took him to 99. And then, off young spinner Such again, a splendid boundary to move the name Boycott level with that of Sutcliffe in the list of century makers. Well, the achievement had a profound effect on his batting. We even had a mighty 6.
The record books speak for itself, don't they? I mean, he's played well most of the season, apart from when he's been injured, of course, and
good luck to him. I hope he gets 150. No doubt he'll be trying, that's for sure.
Eventually, Boycott was sacked, the committee being unhappy with Boycott's dual role as player and committee member.
Everything must come to an end. Even things like that, even an era of a great player. Len had to finish at some time, I had to finish at some time, Johnny Ward had to finish at some time.
The chairman's doing the statement.
Are you happy with the outcome of the meeting? That's my job. What was the atmosphere like then tonight?
A momentous period in Yorkshire cricket had come to an end. Phil Carrick took over the captaincy from Bairstow and in 1987 stirred memories of old glories by reaching the final of the Benson and Hedges Cup.
Yes, he first came into prominence with 100 against the West Indies, which I know impressed the selectors.
And that's a marvellous catch there by Martin Moxon. This time Robert Bailey getting a touch, one just bounced a little bit, and again the open face of the bat. And a marvellous catch there by Martin Moxon, diving full length to his right. And there's a shout there, and Alan Lamb's gone, and that's the vital wicket that Yorkshire wanted. A wild slash at a short ball, looked like a bottom edge, and a good diving catch there by David Bairstow. Again, and just managing to get there again. And a fine piece of fielding there by the Inman. At this time, length ball. Phil Carrick picking that up in a marvellous 6 over square leg. That's a tremendous blow there. And the offer push if they go for 2. There's a chance of a run out again. Well, Phil Carrick did the right thing at the end there. He made sure that Jim Love got back to the safe end and stayed in.
5 to win.
Just a single there. They've got to take them. They can't afford not to take them. And of course they can't afford to play for just having a wicket left extra now. If they'd 2 left, that would be different. But it could come to the last ball and they could lose a wicket, and we should be going to run rates and all sorts.
I think Winston Davis is possibly wanting one more man within the circle, but he's not getting it. Jeff Cook's coming very close himself at short mid-wicket. Somehow they've got to keep side bottom on strike.
And it's sat in the middle of that, but just down to Lincoln Wild again at deep square leg. He's certainly been a busy fielder down there today. He's now and again the strike back to Jim, which was important. Nicely stopped there by Winston Davis, and well bowled right up into the block hole there. So 3 off 3. Can't get a better finish than this. And just a single there on Lamb, deep cover boundary.
One single here could be the match.
Could be a run out. Oh, and he would have been if he'd hit the wicket, but he just missed.
I think Jim Love knows that. He's just raised his back to the dressing room, but look at this.
but there's no problem. And Yorkshire win their first major trophy for a long, long time, and there'll be a very happy coach back at Scarborough tonight.
Despite this one-day triumph, the holy grail of Yorkshire cricket, the Championship, was as distant as when last glimpsed in 1968. Phil Carrick and a group of players proposed that the club reconsider the policy of playing overseas players. This subject has always elicited strong views.
There's been a certain amount of feeling amongst the players that whenever we've gone to games, we haven't been able to compete with the opposition on their terms, purely and simply because they've had one or maybe two overseas quick bowlers, and we've been always fighting against the thunder and lightning with bows and arrows.
I would hate that tradition that we have here to go by the board. I think it's a terribly important tradition. I think it's a very proud tradition. I think it's one that's internationally known and accepted, and people, not just in Yorkshire, would be upset if we actually reneged on that tradition, but I think people all over the world would be. There's something special about this county still, and I think we should hang on to what we've got.
If the day comes when we do that, I should be a little bit sorry. We might have to do that, we might have to, but if it does, I would be just a little bit sorry having this wonderful tradition of local men.
I firmly believed, along with a lot of other players, that we should have had a good overseas player for many years. And whatever the other counties have got fast bowlers charging in and knocking the pup out of these lads, we're never going to be able to fight back.
And I'm a firm believer that we have good enough players in this county to represent Yorkshire without going outside. And I also believe that too many overseas players in English cricket are bad for English cricket.
I have admired it year in, year out, and I have felt very deeply for them that they've struggled when they've been overseas players, you may say, who's played a leading part in beating them in any game.
At the end of the 1990 season, the committee passed a rule that will allow people brought up and living in Yorkshire to play for the county, even if they do not have a birth qualification. The 1990 season brought further changes. A new captain, Martin Moxon, a new president, Sir Leonard Hutton, and a new team manager, Steve Oldham.
I think what we've got to do is make sure that we get all our staff, throughout the club playing good, positive cricket. It doesn't sound much, but it's a bit harder than it appears. It's a modern trend that everybody wants success instantly. And in some cases it can't be done. You've got to work 2 and 3 years, 4 years with lads. And I think we've just got to bring these young lads into the first-class game when it suits them as much as it suits playing for us for them to play. This season we've got Simon Kellett and Darren Goff both playing, now they're established first-teamers. And, I would imagine by the time this season's up, we might have another 2 or 3 who have witnessed playing first-class cricket.
I think the fact of a manager has been something that we have needed, and the character of Steve Oldham, well, he was an excellent choice. He has this advantage. He has played county cricket, and he's played county cricket with many of those who are in the side, because you remember that injury from our best players forced him out of semi-retirement last year. So the team have great respect for him because they've seen him, to use their phrase, they've seen him actually do it on the field. He's a strong personality, and they have great admiration for him.
How's it affected you as...
I'll try not to laugh. At least we've got some jokers in the side. It's the one plus that we have at Yorkshire. Throughout all the problems, the dressing room has been excellent, and I've never known any great blazing rows in the Yorkshire dressing room since I've been involved, and it's the one plus factor that we have.
Yorkshire step into the future with optimism, not least because of the development of the Yorkshire Academy at Bradford Park Avenue, a training ground for the best young Yorkshire cricketers.
Well, I think we've been rather slow, quite honestly, in bringing on some of our young cricketers in the best possible way. And I think it's marvellous that Yorkshire have taken the initiative to really start working with some of the best young cricketers.
I think when you're playing cricket every day, you're forced to improve. You can't really go backwards. And the coaching's so good. I think it's good for everybody, really.
What we have done is to take a layer, a structure of young players, 16 to 19 years old, who are fringing on the Yorkshire second team, and train them daily from mid-April to mid-September. We have them on a 2-year contract, we pay them. We've provided at Park Avenue, which is an ideal situation, a dedicated practice ground. This is the route forward for Yorkshire cricket, that we pick up the best youngsters. We have them for 2 years, we play them in the second team, and in fact 4 of them have already played in the first team. And at the end of the day, we will find the right material.
We've built our indoor school, our Academy of Excellence, and we are going out and about now into the schools, the clubs, the back streets, looking to tell youngsters, here is this great game of cricket, be interested, you're eligible to play for Yorkshire, let's see what you can do. And we've been making positive moves of recent times, and that's years, not months, to say to Asian cricketers in Bradford, West Indians in Leeds and Sheffield, Huddersfield, look, we want to see you. If you're good, then you can come and play in our side, because you will force your way on the grounds of merit.
Yorkshire have never been short of people offering advice.
I think confidence is the main thing that all teams have got to have, whether it's football or cricket. I remember Bill Shankly, when he was at Huddersfield, never ever thought, and we never had team talks about what the opposition could do. All Bill's tactics were telling you how good you were and how in fact the other 11 shouldn't be on the same park. And that's the kind of attitude I think has got to be applied to any games, and if Yorkshire could find that kind of spirit, try and get that spirit into the side, then I'm sure that they'll continue doing much better.
If you've got somebody like Freddie Truman and Geoffrey Boycott and Rowling with Closey, there's 4 guys there, got so much to offer, but they're at odds with each other. And so you're never going to make the use of that tremendous experience. And I think they've got to swallow it somehow, or somebody's got to get them together and get them contributing. I mean, Boyks has been working with the England side, and people, were surprised. Boyks has got a lot to offer the game, and if he's got a lot to offer the England side, then he must have plenty to offer to the Yorkshire side. But the way he goes about it, he's got to go about it the right way. It's no good saying, this is it and this is the way to do it. He's got to see both sides of it, and they, those 4 people have, in my opinion.
The last few years have seen the rise of an exciting batch of new young players. Batsman wicketkeeper Richard Blakey. Fast bowler Paul Jarvis. All-rounder Craig White, born in Yorkshire but raised in Australia. And opening batsman Ashley Metcalfe, who became the first Yorkshire player since Boycott in 1971 to score 2,000 runs in a season. The team, under Martin Moxon, has had some welcome successes in 1990 and finished 11th in the Championship, 6 places higher than the previous season. There is plenty to look forward to for the thousands of Yorkshire cricket lovers around the world who continue to follow the fortunes of the club that has produced a wealth of England players and captains, has won 4 one-day trophies and has finished top of the County Championship an unprecedented 31 times.
Yorkshire County Cricket Club is the finest club in the world. Wherever you go all over the world, they always talk about Yorkshire County Cricket Club, don't they? And the players they've produced. And I think Yorkshire players and Yorkshire public, know a little bit about the game, don't they?